Shalom. My name is MOREH ISHIYAH Yisrael from the House of Israel in Cincinnati, Ohio, 2330 Kemper Lane, bringing to you in 40 minutes or less. In 40 minutes or less, I will prove beyond a shadow of a doubt the word of Yahweh. Who is this Yahweh? Yahweh is the creator of the heaven, the earth, the sea, and all that is therein. Yahweh is the Elohim of our fathers, Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yisrael, whom you may know as Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Yahweh is our judge. Yahweh is our lawgiver. Yahweh is our king, who will save us. Again, we are here on another lesson of 40 minutes or less, dealing with the Old Testament versus the New Testament. The subject matter is the books of the Most High. The Almighty tell you the books that you need to concern yourself with. And one of the books that he will never mention, that he never talk about, we should be concerned about, is called the New Testament. Yahweh never said read or even look at the New Testament. But he never said that about the Quran. He never said that about this false book called Enoch. Never even said this about the book of Jasher, even though you read about this book of Jasher, but it's not a book of laws that people need to concern themselves with, or any books. But if it's a book that Yahweh, the Most High, wants you to concern yourself with, he's going to let you know. And the first book that Yahweh will let you know about is in the book of Genesis. Let us turn there. And it's in Genesis, the second chapter, Genesis 2. And watch what Yahweh say about this book. In the book of Genesis, the second chapter, we're going to start reading the fourth verse. And this is what it says. These, Genesis 2 and 4, these are the generations of the heavens and of the earth when they were created. In the day that Yahweh Elohim made the earth and the heavens, and every plant of the field before it was in the earth, every herb of the field before it grew, for Yahweh Elohim has not caused it to rain upon the earth, and there was not a man to till the ground. But there went up a mist from the earth, watered the whole face of the ground. And Yahweh Elohim formed man of the dust of the ground, breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. And Yahweh Elohim planted a garden eastward in Eden, and he put the man whom he had formed. And out of the ground made Yahweh Elohim to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight, good for food, the tree of life, also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And so the Almighty, anytime our people wanted to know anything about the heaven and the earth, Yahweh put it in a book so we can know it. How did man become? How did a tree become? How did these plants become? What about this food that we eat? Yahweh put all this in a book. And it was called the generations, the genealogy, or the history of heaven and earth. And you can't read no other book about heaven and earth or less it's the book of the Most High himself. Number 2, the second book I read about is in the book of Genesis, the 5th chapter. And watch what it says. In the book of Genesis, the 5th chapter, this is what it says. The very first verse. This is the book of the generations of Adam. In the day that Elohim created man, in the likeness of Elohim made he him, male and female created he them, and blessed them, and called their name Adam, in the day when they were created. You can't learn about mankind without going to the book of the generations of man. That's what Adam means. Man. So how can you go to these other books and they don't even know and have the genealogy of man? Brother told me man is different nations and you just can't go through one people. Well, why can't you? Only one Elohim made people. Only one creator made man. And only one creator spoke about the genealogy of man. And that's Yahweh, which is book number 2. The third book that Yahweh will have you concern yourself with is in the book of Exodus, the 24th chapter. Turn there. In the book of Exodus 24, and watch what this says. In the book of Exodus 24, this is what it says in the 7th verse. And he took the book of the covenant, read it in the audience of the people, and they said, all that Yahweh have said will we do, and be obedient. And what is the book of the covenant? Well, the book of the covenant is the only book that will discuss the covenants of Yahweh, in particularly the 7 everlasting covenants of Yahweh. And let me tell you what these 7 everlasting covenants are in order. And you only and exclusively will read about these covenants in the book of Yahweh, the book of the Most High. Number 1 is the covenant of circumcision. Number 2, the covenant of the 10 Commandments. Number 3, the covenant of the Shabbat. Number 4, the covenant of the sure mercies of David. Number 5, the covenant of day. Number 6, the covenant of night. And then number 7, the new covenant. You're not going to read about these covenants in other books. Like the New Testament, they want you to think that it's a fulfillment of the new covenant. But if you knew the new covenant, you would know, once again, that's a total lie, total deceit. Just like all these other books. Number 4, the books of the Most High. The books that Yahweh himself wants you to concern yourself with. And you'll read about this book in the book of Exodus also. Exodus 32. And let us turn there so you can familiarize yourself with it. Exodus 32. And watch what this says in the 32nd verse. But let us start at 30 so we can get a great understanding of this book. Exodus 32 and 30, and it came to pass on the morrow that Moshe said unto the people, ye have sinned a great sin, and now will go up unto Yahweh. Peradventure I shall make an atonement for your sin. And Moshe returned unto Yahweh and said, oh, this people have sinned a great sin, and have made them gods of gold. Yet now if thou forgive their sin, and if not, blot me, I pray thee, out of thy book which thou hast written. And Yahweh said unto Moshe, whosoever has sinned against me, him will I blot out of my book. So as you can see, and what is this book called? Well, this book is called the Book of Life. The book where Yahweh will have various names in it, recorded, that he intends to give life to. Everlasting life. We all have life, but we don't have everlasting life unless we find ourselves in this book, which is a book you might want to familiarize yourself with. The 5th book that I've seen in the scriptures is in the book of Deuteronomy, the 30th chapter. We talked about the book of the generations of man, the book of the generations of heaven and earth, the book of the covenant, as well as the book of life. And now we're going to the book of Deuteronomy, the 30th chapter, and it's going to detail another book that we must be familiar with. In the book of Deuteronomy 30, and this is what it says in the 10th verse. If thou shalt hearken unto the voice of Yah thy Elohim, to keep his commandments and his statutes, which are written in this book of the law, and if thou turn unto Yahweh thy Elohim with all the heart and with all thy soul, for this commandment which I command thee this day, it is not hidden from thee, neither is it far off. It is not in heaven that thou shouldest say, who shall go up for us to heaven and bring it unto us, that we may hear it and do it? Neither is it beyond the sea that thou shouldest say, who shall go over the sea for us and bring it unto us, that we may hear it and do it? but the word is very nigh unto thee, in thy mouth, in thy heart, that thou mayest do it. So what is this fifth book? It's called the book of the law. You also read about this book in Deuteronomy 31. Let us turn there. In the book of Deuteronomy 31, this is what it says in the 26th verse. Take this book of the law, put it inside of the ark of the covenant of Yahweh your Elohim, that it may be therefore a witness against thee. For I know thy rebellion and thy stiff neck. Behold, while I am yet alive with you this day, ye have been rebellious against Yahweh, and how much more after my death. So they put this book of the law in the ark of the covenant. The sixth book that I seen in the scriptures that we as a people should concern ourselves with is in the book of Isaiah, the 34th chapter. If we turn there. In the book of Isaiah 34, this is what it says. Isaiah 34, verse 16. Seek ye out of the book of Yahweh and read. No one of these shall fail. None shall want her mate. For my mouth it hath commanded, and his spirit it have gathered them. Talking about his books. Talking about all the various books of the prophets. This is the book of Yahweh. Why would Yahweh endorse books that don't put him first, that will put something beside him, and books that has nothing to do with his law? As a matter of fact, these books contradict his law. So the book of Yahweh is the sixth book that we should concern ourselves with. And the seventh book that we should concern ourselves with is in the book of Ecclesiastes. Let us turn there. Ecclesiastes, the 12th chapter. Talking about the books of the Most High. Talking about the Old Testament versus the New Testament. In the book of Ecclesiastes, the 12th chapter, and we're going to start reading at the 9th verse. And watch what this says. And moreover, because the preacher was wise, he still taught the people knowledge. Yea, he gave good heed and sought out and set in order many proverbs. The preacher sought to find out acceptable words. That which was written was upright. In other words, Yasher. Even words of truth. The words are the wise are golds, and as nails fastened by the masters of assembly, which are given from one shepherd. And further by these, my son, be admonished of making many books. There is no end. And much study is the weariness of the flesh. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear Elohim and keep his commandments. For this is the whole duty of man. For Elohim shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. And what is this book? It's the book of remembrance. And why the book of remembrance? Watch this very first verse of Ecclesiastes, the 12th chapter. It says, remember now thy Creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw near, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them, while the sun or the light or the moon or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after rain. In other words, no matter what, remember now thy Creator. And in memorial, in remembrance of your Creator, the only way that you can memorialize him is by concerning yourself with the books that he and he alone have brought forth. And one of those books is the book of remembrance. The 7 books of the Most High. Nothing to do with the New Testament, nothing to do with the Quran, nothing to do with any of these other books. So until our next program, Yahweh love you, and so do I. Shalom. Yahweh is righteous. Yahweh is holy. And let Yahweh continually be magnified.